All right, everybody, man. What's going on, man? How y'all doing? And welcome to another edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. As usual, I'm your tour guide, C. Wells, coming at you. And it's week 13, final week of the regular season. Also, first round FCS playoffs taking place this weekend. Florida and them secured a berth in the playoffs. They faced the Lions of Southeastern Louisiana University on Saturday. So that's a big game, and that's actually going to be our game of the week. So we're going to talk about that game. We're going to talk about the other games that are taking place this weekend, and we're just gonna have a good time. But before we get started with all of that, man, I really want to say this is obviously Thanksgiving Eve. So, in the spirit of Thanksgiving and giving thanks, man, I want to give thanks to all of y'all out there, subscribers and non-subscribers. If y'all not a subscriber, then go ahead and subscribe, please. Um, and hit that notification bell, like and share, comment videos, and all of that jazz. But seriously, man, I really like to thank y'all for being here because just gonna really quickly, man, share my little spiel on why I'm doing this. I actually, if you don't know, in April, I lost my mother-in-law to COVID, and this was kind of like something to get me through, because my wife was out of town for like a month and a half, so I just needed something to do, and I was messing around with the podcast, and so I decided to go and do the YouTube thing. So it grew, man, and I can't be here without any of y'all. So man, I just want to give thanks to y'all for rocking with me because I know there's a lot of people that do good content out there, and y'all take a little time out to rock with me as well as rocking with everybody else out there. So I just want to thank y'all for that, man. And we just not gonna get too mushy, but it's Thanksgiving, and sometimes that's on your heart. So I just wanted to give y'all a heartfelt thanks, man. I really appreciate everything, and let's talk some swag football. So as usual, you see the social scrolling below. Do what you got to do. Follow, like, whatever it is. You want to, drop a little stuff in the collection plate. You get the Cash App, $ Swag Talk. And like I said before, just make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already, and enjoy, man. So we're gonna go ahead and jump directly into this Week 13 action. Um, we're gonna start off with the game that's taking place tomorrow. 2 o'clock kickoff, Montgomery, Alabama, ESPN Plus broadcast, Turkey Day Classic, Alabama State hosting Tuskegee. Man, this game obviously is a serious rivalry. Tuskegee, they chose to make a run at the playoffs for a couple of years, so they backed out of this game. But Alabama State kept it going. They rotated opponents, and now it's back on. So this Turkey Day Classic is not a Turkey Day Classic if it's not Tuskegee and Alabama State. So this is a really intense series. Tuskegee has had a lot of success in this series. In previous years. So, if you're new to this, just because Tuskegee's a D2 team, don't get it twisted, man. They've given Alabama State some L's over the years. So this is gonna be an intense game. It's gonna be, a hard hitting game. It's gonna be an Alabama State type of game. But Tuskegee is actually having a very un-Tuskegee like season right now. At 3-7, 2-4 in the SIAC. So they did not have a good season at all. They got blown out quite a bit. 33 nothing, 30 to nothing to Fort Valley State, 33-7 to West Alabama. Edward Waters they defeated 23-6. They lost to Alabama A&M 35-45 in a game that probably should not have been that close. Bulldogs defense reared their ugly heads in that game. They shut out Clark Atlanta 21-0. They lost to Morehouse 31-15. They beat Central State 29-0. So in 2 of their 3 wins, they pitched shutout. So at least they got that to hang their hat on this year. In their 3 wins, they've only allowed a total of 6 points. So that's something that they can hang their hat on. They lost to Lane 21-17. They lost to Kentucky State 42-35. And this couple weeks ago, they lost to Miles 52-23. So like I said, not a good season, man. Offensively, they haven't really done a lot. They've struggled this year, and they're trying to right the ship. A win here could really turn, really put a good bow on their season. They're averaging 20.5 points per game on offense. They're allowing 26. They are rushing for 130 yards per game, and they're allowing 163. Passing, they're passing for average 163 yards per game, and they're allowing 176 through the air. Total offense, 294 yards for the Tuskegee Golden Tigers and 340 for their opponents. They on the season they have thrown for 10 interceptions, and they've fumbled the ball 16 times. They lost 16 fumbles, so they have 26 turnovers. They actually fumbled 23 times. They lost 16, so they're turnover prone. They have gotten 7 fumble recoveries and 8 interceptions. So they minus 11 in turnover ratio. That's a really horrible thing for them. That's been one of the things that really set them back throughout the season. And they're averaging about 46 yards per game in penalties. So they average about 4.8 penalties per game. So they're not highly penalized, but those turnovers really do them in. They have 21 sacks on the season, and they've allowed 29. They've converted 38% on third downs and 57 on fourth downs. They've allowed 43% on third down and 46% on fourth down. So, I mean, like I said, this team is a team that, I mean, the numbers offensively and defensively are kind of similar, but those 26 turnovers is really the thing that really eats them alive. That's what's hurt them a lot in their games. Um, Ivante Patterson is their leading rusher. He has ran for 729 yards and 9 touchdowns. He's averaging 81 yards per game and 4.6 yards per carry. Bryson Williams is the second leading rusher with 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. So this is Patterson is the guy that carries the run game. Lewis Williams is the leading passer. He's 62 of 121, 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 961 yards. Bryson Williams, 45 of 83, 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 558 yards. So they rotate. They have 2 quarterbacks, but I think Lewis Williams is the guy. Although Bryson Williams has played in all 10 games, so I don't know which route they go, but the offense is not that explosive. Jamal Pritchard is the leading receiver. He has 25 catches for 434 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's averaging 17 yards per catch. Stephen Hodges, 26 catches, 412 yards, 15 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns. And those are the 2 big play guys. Latravian O'Neal is third with 13 catches for 150. 13 catches for 203 yards, 15.6 yards per catch. And Kenyon Webb is the last guy with double-digit receptions with 10 for 150 yards and no touchdowns. Defensively, Carl Matthews is the leading tackler with 79. Woodley Apollon, he has 70 tackles. And tackles for loss, Frederick Austin leads the team with 7. And sacks, Austin is also the leading sack man with 5. Interceptions, they don't have anybody with more than 1 interception, so they don't have a guy who just is going crazy on interceptions. Special teams, they're averaging about 36 yards per punt. Field goals, they're 6 or 8 on the season. The long is 51, so that's that could be a weapon. If they need to get a field goal, you have a 51 yarder under your belt. That's an extremely good thing. Although it's odd that he has 150, he's 1 for 1 from 50 plus yards, and then he's only attempted 1 field goal outside of from 40 to 49 yards. So he's 0 for 1 on that. So they don't seem to really want to kick long field goals, but he came through in the clutch on that one. As far as the return game goes, Jamal Pritchard is the leading punt returner with a 14-yard average, and the Varens Valson is the leading kickoff return man. He averages about 20 yards per return. And they're facing the Alabama State team that coming off of a nice victory over Texas Southern. That defense played pretty well. Offensively, they still have some issues. Um, they are really, don't have a solid quarterback. I think Joe Owens was the quarterback last week. You also had Ryan Nettles step in, from time to time. And so they just, offensively, they just haven't really found the niche yet. They're averaging 19 points per game on offense, and defensively, they're allowing 30 points per game. Total offense, Alabama State is averaging 286 yards and 4.7 yards per play. Defensively, they are allowing 362 yards per game and 5.8 yards per play. Rushing offense, they're running the ball for an average of 99 yards per game and 3.2 yards per rush. I really expected those numbers to be a lot higher this season. Merritt and Ezra Gray, they've had their moments off and on this year, but I think they should be able to run the ball fairly well in this game and really make some big plays on the ground. Defensively, they are allowing 161 yards per game on the ground. Passing offense, Alabama State is averaging 186 yards per game through the air. They have 17 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Defensively, they're allowing 200 201 yards per game, and they have allowed a total of 17 touchdowns, but they only have 3 interceptions. So they haven't done a really good job of forcing any turnovers. Red zone offense, Alabama State is last in the league. They're 20 or 26. They have 17 touchdowns, but they haven't done a really good job of getting in the red zone. Their red zone defense is also not that good. 29 of 32 on the season for the opponents, and they've allowed 23 touchdowns in the red zone. Third down conversion rate, Alabama State is at they are at 35.5% on third down conversions, and defensively they're allowing 34.1% on third down. So defensively, you can see they get stops. Offensively, they still can't really manufacture drives. They have allowed 21 sacks as an offense, and they've also had 21 sacks as a defense. Christian Clark is a guy that really plugs up that middle. I think he's gonna have a pretty big game against this offensive line of Tuskegee. So with all that being said, I really think this game is Alabama State's game to lose. I think they're gonna play well in this game and go out on top in their last game of the season. Tuskegee's gonna come out. They're gonna be game. They're gonna fight, and they're gonna score. But I think that turnover problem that Tuskegee has is gonna rear its ugly head in this game, and Alabama State will be able to reap the benefits. I think it's gonna be a good game on the ground for Merritt and Gray, and whoever starts at quarterback, I think they can have some success too. Wallace Corker has made some big plays at receiver, including basically the game-winning touchdown against Texas Southern last week. So that's a weapon that they have. So I'm gonna go obviously with the Hornets by a score of 34-21. I think Tuskegee is gonna. I think they're gonna be game. I think they're gonna fight and they're gonna play hard. But I think that Alabama State will pull this one out in the end. So that brings us to our next game that we're gonna talk about, and that's Mississippi Valley at Prairie View. Jackson State defeating Alcorn really took a lot of pressure off of this game. This game really would have went the way of deciding the West Division. But Prairie View gets their first West Division championships in 2009. So this is a big game for them still. Valley has been scrappy all year. They have played really hard most of the season. They haven't really laid down outside of their first 2 games. They really played well once conference play kicked in, and they've extended Coach Dancy's contract. So that's a commitment to building this program back up. Um, I really don't foresee too many problems with Prairie View in this game. I think Prairie View will find a way to win this game because I think that Valley Valley has that, Valley has the offensive issues. I think that they are not really explosive enough to really take advantage of what Prairie View does on defense. I think Prairie View will find a way to force turnovers and give Valley a lot of problems. I think if you look at the way Valley's played at home, they've been very tough. On the road, they've struggled. So I think you're going to see that again in this game. Valley averaging 19.2 points per game. Prairie View is averaging 27.6. Valley is allowing an average of 31.7 points per game on offense, and Prairie View is allowing an average of 26 points per game. Total offense, Valley, they are 10th in the league right now with 303 yards per game. They're averaging 4.7 yards per play. Prairie View is third in the league at 413 yards per game and 6 yards per play. Prairie View's defense is third in the league at 314 yards per game and 4.7 yards per play. Valley is allowing 6.2 yards per play and 401 yards per game. They are susceptible to the big play on defense because they gamble a lot. They can be hit through the air, but they are still, they're never gonna stop coming at you. They're gonna continue to come at you until basically the final whistle. Valley's run game has been pretty good the last couple of weeks. Obviously, Caleb Johnson is a guy that can really tote the rock for them. Jelani Easton also is a good runner for them. They're averaging 136 yards per game. Prairie View 176. Um, Valley's averaging 3.7 yards per rush. Prairie View 4.4. Prairie View's defense is allowing 130 yards per game on the ground, and Valley is 154. So the run game is going to be an interesting factor. I think whoever can run the ball in this game is going to have the best opportunity. But Prairie View's passing game, I think, probably will be the difference maker in this. 236 yards per game, 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Valley is at 166 yards per game. They have 10 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Valley struggles when they have to throw the ball. So if Prairie View can make them one-dimensional and force them to throw, then they will have a good opportunity to really dominate this game. Valley is allowing 247 through the air. They do have 11 interceptions on the season, but they've allowed 25 touchdowns, which is the second most in the league. Prairie View is third in passing defense at 184 yards per game, and they've allowed 17 touchdowns and and 9 interceptions on the season. The running game for Prairie View is obviously led by Jaden Stewart and Damian Brooks. Stewart hit 100 yards against Texas A&M last week, so that's a big threat. Jawan Pass is a guy that can really hurt you with his legs, but he is a really solid deep ball passer. He got banged up in the A&M game, so I don't know what his status is for Saturday. Um, some people feel like maybe you should just rest him this week. I mean, you don't really have, a lot on the line. I mean, obviously you want to win, but do you risk if he's banged up? Do you risk him? Um, Antonio Mullins and Jalen Howard are two big play receivers. Howard is a big, big deep threat, and he's going to give Valley some problems. Um, there's not a lot to really go too crazy about this game. I think um, Valley will come out fighting early. It really all depends on how Prairie View approaches this game. If they come out, with fire in their eyes, then I think they're going to win this game pretty comfortably. If they don't, then Valley's going to hang around because Valley is, they're that kind of team this year. They're really scrappy and they're going to keep themselves in games if they can. So I like the Panthers obviously by a score of 38-17. I think that Prairie View will take care of business. It probably won't be the prettiest game, but I think they'll pull away late and go ahead and head into the SWAC championship game next week. And that brings us to our third game on the season. And typically most seasons, this is probably one of the bigger games of the week. And a lot of times this game decides the West Division, but not this year. Obviously, this game is like on the back burner as far as attention goes. Southern and Grambling Bayou Classic, the interim coach bowl. So that's pretty much what it is. Terrence Graves interim coach for Grambling this game. Jason Rollins interim coach at Southern. So this is the interim coach classic. So this is going to be interesting to see how both teams get up for this game. Um, I think Coach Graves is going to have Grambling at least ready to go. He's a very energetic guy. He's really, trying to make a statement with his coaching. Maybe put his head in the ring of a couple jobs. So this is a good outing for him to kind of do that with. Coach Rollins is obviously fighting for his coaching job. Most people feel like there's nothing that can really save that. But that makes this game fairly interesting. The Bayou Classic is one of those games that it really, like the Florida Classic, Magic City Classic, these are those throw the records out the window type of game because rivalries teams tend to, they tend to play harder. You don't really want to lose to your rival. Grambling lost to Southern in the spring already, so I think they'll be fired up to come in here and not lose to them again in the fall. But Grambling's been so tumultuous this season, so it's really interesting to see how they're gonna approach this game. Um, they've played 3 or 4 quarterbacks as well. Offensively, they're last in the league in scoring at 16 points per game. Southern is sixth at 26.4. Grambling is actually fifth in the league in scoring defense at 27.8, and Southern is seventh at 31 points per game. So Southern's defense has had a couple good outings the last few weeks, but they've worn down in the second half. Southern has had lots of second half problems. Total of 13 points scored at home in the second half of the majority of their games. So not a lot of offense in the third quarter. I don't know what the problem is, but Southern is obviously gonna run the ball. That's what they're known for. They're leading the league still in rushing at 193 yards per game. They're averaging 4.7 yards per carry. Um, Grambling is last in the league at 90 yards per game rushing, 2.9 yards per carry. Defensively, Grambling and Southern are pretty much neck and neck in run defense. Grambling 167 yards per game, 4.2 yards per carry. That's good for eighth in the league. Southern is seventh at 161 yards per game. Passing, neither team is gonna kill you with the pass game. Southern is 10th, 172 yards per game. They have 14 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Grambling, 120 yards per game, 9 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Defensively, they're both neck and neck again. Grambling's fifth in passing defense, 205 yards, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Southern, 229 yards allowed, 18 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Obviously Grambling's offense is the question mark in this game. They're last in total offense, um, 210 yards per game of offense, 3.6 yards per play. That's anemic to say the least. Southern is mid-pack at number 6, 366 yards per game. They average 5.4 yards per play. Defensively, again, these two defenses are neck and neck. Grambling is sixth in total defense at 368 yards per game, 5.6 yards per play. Southern 372 per game, 5.3 yards per play. Um, like I say, this matchup to me is the Southern defense and Grambling offense. Southern, their defense is very capable of making plays. They have shown in the last couple weeks that they can make plays. Grambling, if they can find any bit of confidence on offense, I think that's going to go a long way in helping them in this game. Southern, the key for Southern is obviously to run the ball and just, they need to commit to the run game and, take advantage of tight ends and backs out the backfield. Receivers are hit or miss. They haven't really been the best weapons this year, but they have some guys who can make some plays, but they have not really had very many opportunities. Bubba McDaniel is he's a young quarterback, but he's, been pressed in the starting, and he's had his ups and downs. The wild card, obviously, week in and week out, I say it, Ladarius Skelton. He's a 3-time Bayou Classic MVP. Will he have an opportunity for number 4, or will he not play? We don't know. We'll find out on Saturday, like we do every Saturday. But there's not a lot of intrigue in this game, and rightfully so. There's not a lot of people who are really that invested in this game, other than probably the people um, who are who are fans of both teams. So this is probably one of the not probably one of the least exciting Bayou Classics in a while. Um, maybe not as least interesting as the Spring Classic, but this should still be an entertaining game because I always feel like you just can't count out either team in this game, and you really can't count out Grambling. I think they're underdogs I think they're big underdogs for a reason, but I think that they will compete in this game. If, I really think that's going to be the case here. But I like Southern in this game by a score of 30-20. I know that's not the super blowout that a lot of people are going with, but I could easily see Southern building a big lead and holding on late. All Southern pull away late. You got to remember, 2019 Grambling raced out to a 21-3 lead. Southern was able to come back and win. The spring was, a shit show. Grambling was coming off of COVID issues. Southern definitely bombed them. But I don't know, where either team is at mentally. So with this being said, I'm going conservative, but I do think Southern should win by double digits in this game. And that brings us to our final game of the week. And this is the first for the SWAC. Since 1998, Jackson State in 1998, the SWAC has a member in the FCS playoffs. Florida A&M put together a really good season after losing to Jackson State 7-6, and then they dropped a game to South Florida earlier in the season. So they've won 8 straight games after that. So they're playing really good football. Defensively, they're very strong, and offensively, they're getting better week in and week out. I think that you can kind of attribute their growth to the offense. The running game has been a very good weapon for them. They have found something to work with Bishop Barnett and Terrell Jennings. They run the ball well. Obviously, those receivers, Smith, Hunter, Manigault, Shareed, are all capable and big play weapons. Shareed's a guy who can hurt you in the return game as well. Xavier Smith also. He is a do-it-all type of guy. Rashawn McKay is obviously the wild card in this. As he's improved, the offense has improved. This will be a bigger test as far as attention and hype on the game. But they're facing an offense that they're facing a defense that is has not played well all season. Um, FAMU defense is stout, man. They've the most points they've allowed all season is 38 to USF. After that was 31 to Alabama A&M. So they don't give up a lot of points. Right now, they really can smother you. They did a damn good job against Bethune-Cookman on defensively after that big play, 13-7 halftime score. They scored 30 unanswered points in the third quarter, 2 defensive touchdowns in that. They're second in the league in scoring defense at 15.1 points per game. They're third in the league in scoring offense at 29 points per game. Total offense, they're fourth in the league at 389 yards, 5.6 yards per play. Defensively, they lead the league in total defense, 257 yards per game, 4.4 yards per play. Their rushing average is fourth, 168 yards per game. They average 4.6 yards per play. They lead the league in rushing defense at 88 yards per game and 2.9 yards per rush. Passing offense, they are seventh in the league right now, 220 yards per game passing. They have 21 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. They don't turn the ball over a lot. I really think this team is built more to run the ball. They have a good offensive line. Like I said, they have 2 or 3 good backs that can carry the ball. But they still are a team that want to throw the ball. So when they choose to go to the air, they can hurt you. McKay, like I said, he's not flashy. He's like a game manager to the strictest sense, but he doesn't hurt you either. He doesn't really make a lot of plays on his own, but he doesn't really hurt you. He did have a 5 TD performance against UAPB. And he had a solid game against Bethune-Cookman, but that defense really is what won that game for them last week. Defensively against the pass, they are second, allowing 168 yards per game. They have 12 interceptions and only 8 touchdowns. That's the second fewest touchdowns in the league. And that defense is going to be tested through the air. Obviously, we'll talk about Southeastern's offense in a minute. Defensively, FAMU is second in the league in sacks allowed with 14, so they do a good job of protecting the quarterback. They're second in the league in sacks as a defense with 38. They get after the quarterback. Isaiah Land is obviously a Buck Buchanan candidate for a reason. Um, he can really wreak havoc on an offense. If you allow him to get free, he's gonna hurt you. He leads the league in sacks with 18 sacks on the season. With 19 sacks on the season, 1.7 sacks per game. Tackles for loss. He also leads the league in tackles for loss with 25 and a half. The secondary is obviously a strength. Derek Mayweather has 8.5 tackles for loss. He's their second guy in tackles for loss. I like Gentle Hunt, man. That dude's a big body in the middle of that defense. He got him a touchdown last week. So, he can make some things happen. The secondary is obviously where they have their name. BJ Bowler, who is second in the league in interceptions with 4. You have Antoine Collier and Marquise Bell, who are both big name guys. Bell's that superstar in that secondary. They're very tough on defense, and they can tackle well. They don't miss a lot of tackles, and they play really good team defense. So they're going to be tested though against a Southeastern offense that has scored over 30 points in every game this year, but one. They put up 42 points on Louisiana Tech. The only thing is Southeastern's defense gives up a lot of points as well. They gave up 10 points to Central Connecticut State and 20 to McNeese. Other than that, and 24 to Houston Baptist. Um, they've given up a lot of points in some games. They've had some serious shootouts in a few games. 49-28 is a kind of shootout against North Alabama. 45-42 against Louisiana Tech. 38-35 against McNeese. 58-48 against Nichols. 55-52 against Incarnate Word. 56-28 against Northwestern State. That's an offense that's not that good. They gave up 28 points to them after giving up 14 the first time. Nickel State 45-42. So if you notice, they've played home and homes against their conference opponents. Um, Everybody except for Incarnate Word and Houston Baptist, they play home and home. They had lack of members in the Southland due to teams, both in the other conferences, so they didn't have a chance to add members or, really flesh out that non-conference slate, so they were able to play each other twice in certain instances. So that's why you see a couple games against teams more than once on here, almost like a basketball schedule, home and home. So their offense, they haven't really played a lot of outside opponents. They've had 3 non-conference games, and the rest have been in conference, but they played the same teams twice. McNeese, Nichols, and Northwestern State, they've played twice. But this offense, there's nothing to take away from this offense. They are very explosive. They're averaging 48 points per game. They are running for 152 yards per game. They average 4.5 yards per carry. They have 30 touchdowns on the ground. Passing, they are at 413 yards per game, and they have 39 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So they don't turn the ball over very much. They fumble a bit. They have 21 fumbles. They've lost 13. That gives them a 19 turnovers on the season. But they are converting 52% on third down and 70% on fourth down. They've allowed 21 sacks, so you can get some pressure on the quarterback. We'll talk about him in a minute. This team, is a very, very explosive offense. If you let them get going, then you're going to have problems. Defensively, like I said, that's where the issue is. 32 points per game on defense allowed. They allow 156 yards per game on the ground, 4.8 yards per carry, 280 yards through the air, 29 touchdowns and 16 interceptions. So they have done a good job of forcing turnovers. They've only recovered 4 fumbles and they forced 11, so that gives them 20 turnovers there. +1 in turnovers. The opponents are converting 44% on third down, so you can get drives going. They don't get a lot of stops, and 57% on fourth down, and they have 21 sacks. I mean, they have 19 sacks as a defense. So pretty much, if you look at the numbers, you see Southeastern is an offensive team. They love to put the ball in the air. They can run. Cole Kelly is their quarterback and also their leading rusher. He has 442 yards um, on 135 carries, which is by far the most carries of anybody on the team. He has an average of 3.3 yards per carry and 16 touchdowns. He's gonna be a work a load to take care of. He's 6'7", 260, so he's a big boy. So you're gonna have to make sure when you get back there that you get him on the ground. He transferred from Arkansas. He's a Louisiana kid from Lafayette. So he can make some things happen with his legs. He obviously at 6'7", 220, he's not a burner, but if you let him get ahead of steam, he can pick up some big yardage. Tyrone Jones is their leading rusher at running back, and he's 5'10", 205. He has 297 yards on the season, 4.6 yards per carry, and 6 touchdowns. They don't really have a lot of explosive runs like big runs. Their longest run on the season is 66. So they've broken a few, but they damage through the air. Cole Kelly is 339 of 457, 74% completion rate, 4,382 yards, 38 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. His longest pass is 77 yards. They don't have anybody else that throw the ball. They don't really play um, anybody else. Cephas Johnson is their backup quarterback, but he spends more time at receiver. He's only thrown 8 passes on the season, so not a lot. Not a lot of anybody else to do the damage. Cole Kelly is your guy. Austin Mitchell is the leading receiver with 57 catches, 946 yards. He's averaging 16.6 yards per catch and 8 touchdowns. Uh, Gage Lavardin, 32 catches, 432 yards, 5 touchdowns, 15.1 yards per catch. CJ Turner, 27 catches, 464 yards. He's averaging 17 yards per catch and 5 touchdowns. Nolan Given, 46 catches, 454 yards, 9.8 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns. Brennan Dingle, 26 catches, 316 yards, 12.1 yards per catch. Terrell Carter, 19 catches, 286 yards, 15 yards per catch. And Nick Kovac, 22 catches, 272 yards, 12.3 yards per catch, 3 touchdowns. And you can throw in Tyrone Jones, the running back. He has 32 catches for 266 yards and no touchdowns. They have a lot of guys that have had catches. So they spread the ball around a lot, but Mitchell is the guy that you need to really keep an eye out on. He's 5'9", 170 pounds. So he's a really speedy slot guy. So you have to account for him at all times. He has a 77-yard reception this year. So they really have the weapons on offense to really hurt you, and they're gonna be a good chess match with the FAMU defense because FAMU has a good secondary and they have a tremendous pass rusher in Isaiah Land, and defensively they're very very strong and they're stingy. So this is gonna be interesting to see which unit in this battle can win out. I think if FAMU's offense can hold serve, then I think they'll put themselves in decent position in this game. Alexis Ramos is Southeastern's leading tackler with 71. Jack Henderson is second at 43. So Ramos is a guy who's probably going to be around the ball a lot. You probably hear his name quite a bit in this game. He's 6'2", 230. He's a linebacker for California. Tackle for loss. He's also the leading guy in tackles for loss with 7.5. Garrett Crawford has 7 tackles for loss on the season. Crawford is also the leading sack man with 4.5. John Graves has 3 sacks on the season. Interceptions, the leading interception man is Zaire Alexander. He has 6. So that's a guy you really want to keep tabs on. He's a 6'3", 185-pound freshman from Lauraville, Louisiana. So a young guy, man, making plays in the secondary. So you really want to keep an eye out on him and know where he's at all times. He has had an interception in 6 different games. So you really want to keep an eye out on him. Special teams, they are averaging 44 yards per punt. Punter has a long of 66 yards. They are 7 of 10 on field goals with a long of 39. So they don't kick. They don't kick many field goals, and B, they don't kick anything longer than 30 yards. They are 0 for 1 from 40 to 49 yards and 0 for 1 from 50 plus. So they are 5 for 5 from 20 to 29 yards, and then 2 or 3 from 30 to 39 yards. So they try to score touchdowns as much as possible. They're not gonna really settle for very many field goals. They're gonna try to score. So if you get a third down stop, you need to stay focused because they're probably gonna go for it on fourth. Austin Mitchell is the leading punt returner with 12-yard average, and Gage Levadian, he has 18 returns on kickoffs for 530 yards and 1 touchdown. He has a 100-yard return for a touchdown. Brennan Dingle also has an 80-yard return. He's averaging 22.5 yards per return, 271 yards. So they have 2 guys back there in the return game that can hurt you. So both teams have good special teams units. Both teams have guys who can bust plays on the return game. And like I said, to me, obviously the matchup that everybody knows is the FAMU defense against Southeastern offense. To me, FAMU's success is obviously going to come from if they can slow down this offense. If they can get some pressure on Kelly, get him down, make him uncomfortable, then they have a good shot. If they allow him to spread the ball around, pick up any crucial yardage on the ground, just if they allow him to do work, then FAMU's going to have trouble. To me, FAMU's offense is the key to this game because they need to control the ball. They need to control the clock. They need to have sustained drives. I'm not saying they need to sit on the ball, but they do need to take their time and drive, and they have to score. You cannot have very many empty possessions in this game. You really cannot have many 3 and outs, and you cannot have any turnovers. You do not want to get this team a short field. That's not going to help you at all. So for me, like I said, I'm of 2 minds of this game. If FAMU's defense can play well and their offense can do what they need to do, and their running game is clicking, then I think the Rattlers have a really good chance of winning this game. If Southeastern is able to pass the ball like they have been all year, then they'll probably not mind getting in a shootout. They are built for that. They don't really look to get stops on defense that often, so they don't mind going up and down the field with you. So if they can get their offense going, then they probably betting that your offense will give out before theirs. So I really think that for FAMU to win this game, they need to control the game. I don't think the crowd is going to be much of a factor because they don't really have a crazy attendance. They may draw well because it's a playoff game, but you know LSU playing Saturday, and I know a lot of people from Southeastern are LSU fans, so they might be there. But I think the Rattlers can. I think the Rattlers can hang in this game, and I'm gonna go SWAC in this game. On SWACtalk, I'm gonna go SWAC. I think it's gonna be a very good game. I think it's gonna be close. I think the Rattlers defense will get at least a couple big plays and set the offense up for a couple key plays late in the game. And I think the running game is gonna carry them to this victory. I think they'll advance and go on and face James Madison. They're gonna win this game, in my opinion, by a score of 33-28, and they'll pick up the first ever victory for the SWAC in the playoffs. So that's historic. That's history on the line right now. That 0-19 could hopefully disappear if the Rattlers can take care of business. So that's gonna do it for today's show. We will be back tomorrow with SWAC Smoke. I know it's Thanksgiving, but we'll be here. So if y'all, not too full from turkey, man, and you want to kick back and chill with us, check us out as usual, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. Sunday, week 13 recap. And then we'll preview the SWAC championship game next week. And after that, we'll start to dabble in basketball and get ready for the Celebration Bowl. So I'm your tour guide, C. Wells. I'm signing out, man. I hope y'all enjoy. And like I said, happy Thanksgiving early to everybody. And don't eat too much. If you go in that game, enjoy yourself, be safe. I will be at the Bayou Classic, so that's my thing. So I'll be there. So if you see me, holler. and enjoy yourself, man. I'm out.